So as explained in the last video, this build is heavily inspired by the YouTuber Evan Shanks. He has an Evo 10, he's modifying it, and this last version of the build was in a yellow, and I really like that, so I wanted to build my own. Nowadays it's not yellow anymore, it's gray, but I still like the yellow, so I'm building a yellow one. In the last video I left off by deviating from his original build by adding a pearl yellow top coat to the yellow itself. In this video I'm moving away a bit more by adding some gray accents, mainly the roof, the diffuser on the rear bumper, and the splitter on the front bumper, and of course I'm also adding a lot of the standard black parts all over the place. Everything was masked off pretty much separately, a couple of coats were applied, and in between I left enough time to dry, maybe about 5 to 10 minutes in between coats as usual. So after, of course, applying the first session of paint, I started carefully removing the masking tape and then remasked it for the second session in a different color. Since I still need to apply clear coat on top of all these finishes, it doesn't really matter if it's a matte semi-gloss, gloss, or just a regular base coat. In this case I chose to use the matte as I really like the way that it covers. It covers really quickly and it sprays out really nice and thin on these small areas. The B-pillars on the actual car are in a semi-gloss or matte black. Mostly I think it's a sticker, at least on some of the Lancers it's an actual sticker and not really a trim piece. Now I decided not to do it in a matte black as I wanted this to be a bit of a higher standard finish. I decided to paint it now in the black and then finish it all with a high gloss clear. Now the rest of the window trim does need to be a semi-gloss or matte black, but I figured it's easier to mask off this big area than just to be carefully masking off these pillars and paint it all at once and then later just add a thin coat of black on top of the trim itself. With a couple of coats applied, I again carefully started removing the masking tape and moving on to the next session. Now I'm not entirely sure why I did not do this in the first session, but it's time to move on back to some metallic gray. I remasked the front bumper and applied the gray. I also did an unboxing of the photo etch set from Aoshima for this car. That also contained a couple of 3D emblems, so I applied one on the rear and then moved on to applying a nice couple coats of clear coat to make it all really nice and shiny and have everything protected from the elements. With the clear coat mixed up, all the hard to reach, easy to forget spots all covered, I could move on finishing the rest of the body with a nice thick coat of clear. Now I didn't really apply any decals on the body, so I don't really have to be careful and can pretty much smash on that first coat of clear nice and heavy to start building up that glossy finish. With the nice first coat now applied, you can already see the gloss starting to come up. I set it aside for about 5 minutes to dry and moved on to the second coat, adding it in a similar fashion as the first, trying to finish it off entirely in 2 coats with a nice glossy finish. The second coat is now applied. It is already nice and glossy. I checked it over just to be sure if I didn't really need to add any other clear coats to some of the certain spots, which I did not. It finished up exactly as I wanted in 2 coats, so I could just set it aside for a couple of days to dry, and then in the meantime move on to the interior and chassis.